Noah, I don't remember his last name.
Noah Segan.
Who plays like the consummate fucked up gangster. Yeah. You brought him to Button-on-Thon last year, and he was such a nice guy to talk to, and I had no idea that he had such a major part in this film. But seriously, like, I want to see him in like 10 more movies.
I hope you will. He gives a tremendous performance, and that's a really tricky character to play because he's both the antagonist and also, like you said, kind of a fuck up in an endearing way. And he's to play that and not have it just be comic. Noah is doing a lot of heavy lifting for that part. I think he's tremendous in it. I'm glad you liked him.
He was so good.
He also was spinning a 7-pound gun on his finger.
Yeah,
that was never fake. He spent like months learning how to do it and getting calluses on his finger and stuff.
He had a callus on that finger that was like the size of a walnut. It was disgusting. It was really
I was going to ask you, one of the coolest elements of the film, and then we'll throw it to the audience, is the idea that when something in the past changes, your memories slowly change. Have you seen that somewhere before? I don't think I've seen that in time travel.
I'm sure it's been done. Everything's been done before. I'm sure it's been done before. That was part of my approach to time travel in this movie. Obviously there's the line in the movie where Willis says we're not going to talk about time travel and kind of dismisses it. The thing is, I'm always very, very nervous and very cautious. I don't want that to indicate that I didn't give a lot of thought to the time travel in this movie and actually do a really rigid set of rules for myself in terms of how it works. But one of my approaches to it was exactly that. I feel like so often time travel is approached in fiction as a mathematical equation and as a strict timeline where it's almost like Metal Gears interacting, where if this happens, that triggers this, which triggers that, which sets off this paradox, etc., etc. My approach was, well, that's not really how the universe around us works. And I'm going to approach the paradox thing with time travel more like the universe and our minds and our bodies are organic bodies that a foreign element is introduced into, this foreign element being the time travel and the paradox. And what an organic body does is it does its best. It takes it tries to figure out what it is, assimilate it, and reject it, or try and destroy it, or take it in. It tries to figure it out. And that made sense. That kind of sounds like a cop-out, but that actually made a lot of sense to me in terms of how the universe really works. So, for instance, when they get the scar, that's a pretty simple thing, just flesh and cells, and one-to-one. Pretty quickly, the universe makes that adjustment, and the older guy has the scar if the young guy gets cut. Memories are so much more complicated, and it's such a more complicated system. I felt like it would be cloudy, it would be something where the mind is trying to catch up, and it's fusing to the current reality and the current situation in the moment that's happening, moment to moment. But memories, that's now a soup of eventualities, and his brain would be just trying to hold on to what he had left of it. So.
Exactly. Okay. Who has, well, look at that. Okay.
I'm just curious if it was from the beginning that you didn't ever at any point try to explain how it works. Almost everyone tries to say, well, this is how it works. This is how you can travel through time.
Right.
And no
the flux capacitor.
Right.
Yeah.
And at no point did you touch on that at all. Was that from the very beginning you knew you weren't going to do that?
That was a really deliberate thing from the start, and my model was the first Terminator. Because I knew that similar to this is a very different film than that, obviously, but similar to that film, it's a film that uses time travel to set up the premise, but it's not about time travel. And the first Terminator is so genius and so deft at doing it that it's easy to forget that that's a time travel movie. Time travel sets up that situation and then totally gets out of the way and lets this chase occur. And we play with time travel a little more than that movie did, but that was my basic model. None of these characters know how it works. They don't have to interact with it. When we presented the machine, I didn't want any indication on the machine of how it worked. I didn't want meters or dials. I wanted it to be this indecipherable hunk of metal. And we actually modeled it after the gadget at the Trinity test site, at the first atomic bomb that was actually exploded. We just kind of aped pictures of that. So yeah, it's a good catch. It was very intentional.
On the aisle there? Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, I just want to, if you can go into your thought process and maybe inspiration for how you design the universe. Because, it takes place in like 2044, but it's still very recognizable.
Yeah.
It's not like light years into the future type of thing.
Is there anyone hearing the questions okay? It feels like it's small enough. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, so our approach was always that it was going to be a very grounded world, and that it was going to be kind of a recognizable near future dystopia. And it was funny, when I was writing the script, I actually didn't have a vision for how this world was going to look in my head, because I was putting all of my work in the script into it. It took all the work, all the brain cells I had, just to tame the time travel and make sure the story worked and the characters worked and the themes worked and the emotional stuff. So I didn't think about the visuals and how the world was going to look until we sat down with the production designer when we started production. And then we just started making every single decision based on the needs of the story. So, for example, the reason that the city is, even the reason it's a dystopian future, the reason the city is in such disarray, is a very practical one narratively for me. It's that all of these characters are acting in the beginning, or especially Joe, out of this kind of vicious self-interest. They're all trying to hold on to their piece of the pie. So it made sense to put them in the world where that made sense, where if you lose your, you lose your nut, you lose what you've got, there's no place to fall to. And to make the streets feel dangerous and to make it feel very dire out there. So each of those design decisions were, but it was always towards the end, I think, of, it always made sense to me to keep it all very, very grounded and real feeling.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the child actor that you work with, but what was your preparation as a director, and how was his preparation as an actor? I mean, I don't know how old he is.
Yeah.
And why was his parents' preparation
for the rest of his life? Pierce Gagnon was the name of the actor. He's 5 years old when we shot this movie. He was a 5-year-old. And he would come in, and I'll let you speak this a bit, he would come in and do a 3-page dialogue scene with these actors all the way through. And there are adult actors who can't do that. So he was just a tremendous actor. And I mean, my preparation with him didn't go much beyond casting him and feeling incredibly lucky that we found him. His mom did a lot of work with him. His mom is wonderful, and in case anybody's worried, his mom is absolutely wonderful. This kid is a normal 5-year-old kid. He's not anything like he is in the movie. And in between takes, he was a 5-year-old kid. He was running around, he was playing, he would get impatient if he did more than a couple scenes. He's not a bizarre adult in a child's body. I think he's going to be okay.
Is his mom's name Rosemary by any chance?
So yeah, but he just has his talent, and that's one of the things that Joe. I mean, you started acting when you were around that age, And
Yeah, I was 6 when I started acting, and I wasn't nearly as good as he was when he was 5. But he's a really great actor, and I think because I was a young actor, I can be pretty hard on kids in movies. I find it often happens when I'll see a movie with a kid in it, and I'll be talking to friends afterwards and say, like, I didn't really believe the kid. And people will be like, it's a kid! And I was like, and my answer is always, no, I disagree. I think kids actually have the capability to be the best actors. And some of the best movie performances ever given, I think, have been given by little kids. Like in the 400 Blows, or Cinema Paradiso, or City of Lost Children, or lots of movies. And he's just a great artist. And I think kids, they have a certain, they're closer to that uninhibited play space where we all start. And he can go there. And I would also echo that his mom was excellent. Never talked down to him. Spoke to him like an artist and like an actor when it was time to work. And then when it wasn't time to work, it was just a fun time, and he's a really cool little guy.
They kind of work together over and over again. And you work with Chris Nolan on a couple of movies now, and so really, what do you like about that working relationship? It's repeated.
I mean, I'd say I hope I'm lucky enough to get to work with this guy for the rest of our lives. I mean, it's nothing better than.
I feel the exact same way. We stayed really close friends since we shot Rick, and he's really one of my dearest friends, and it feels fantastic to get to work with someone you're that close with. Partially because it's fun, and partially because it actually, I do think, helps the work. You already have a trust, you already have a shorthand, And when I'm acting in a movie, I feel like my job really is to understand as well as I can what the director has in mind, and then deliver to him or her the pieces that he or she needs to put together the movie. And with Ryan, I always feel like I can really get a very, very clear sense of what he wants. Partially because he's just good at communicating anyway, but also partially because I've known him for, since 2003. And we've watched, countless movies together, and we've had countless conversations about movies and things like that. And so I think it really does make the movie better. And yeah, I absolutely can't wait to do the third one.
All right, right there.
Two things. One real quick. Joe, you are crushing it this year.
Thanks, man.
Flat out crushing it. Two, the young boy who's in the movie. I don't know if I was supposed to be terrified when, like, half of the time when he was on screen, but I was. And I got the feeling that in the movie, most anyone else would be kind of terrified of him, a little bit too. And so in the scene at the table, when he mentioned that he saw his mom die, is that something that's more a nod to the audience saying, hey, this is maybe the guy that older Joe mentioned earlier? Or is that something that young Joe realized at the time and just didn't care enough to kill him? I kind of wasn't sure, like, if that was something that the young version took note of and didn't want to act on it, or if it was something that he just kind of missed until he saw all the carnage and craziness with Garrett Dillahunt.
Yeah, in that moment though, Sid says, I saw my mom get killed. He doesn't say, I killed my mom. Yeah, is that what you're talking about? Is that what you mean? Like,
yeah, well, that moment, I actually, and there was definitely a lot going on in the movie, so I may not retain quite all of it. But I had thought that the older version of Joe had said that he knew the Rainmaker witnessed his mom get killed.
Right.
And so when the young boy says, I witnessed my mom get killed, I kind of thought that was like going to be the...
I thought that was, by him saying that, I thought that took, because immediately, I think I even realized it before that scene, that I don't think you're trying to hide it.
I guess as a writer, I assumed that the instant there's a kid that, there are 3 kids that are out there.
Yeah.
The thing is, the instant where he's Emily Blunt's son, I figured the audience would know that's
right.
So I guess in my mind, it was I was never like holding it out. I think I know what you're saying. Like, wouldn't that admission have triggered then old Joe's memories to go?
If I needed to beeline right for him.
Yeah, he would go straight for it. And I guess the answer is no. I suppose whether that wasn't a strong enough, like, it didn't make us, because you'll notice the things that break through, the things that instantly hit old Joe and get his attention. It's not like he's constantly watching a movie.
Right.
It's happening out when you're a Joe. And if you'll notice, the things that do strike through are the huge emotional moments, are the huge things, are the things where your adrenaline's pumping, the slaps when he's on the thing, or where the guy blows up. Those are the moments where he engages. So I would assume that either old Joe was asleep in the cave or it's just not enough to like break through it. But you're right. He didn't hear that.
Okay.
The main emotion that's coming for young Joe in that scene is actually a really positive one with the kid, positive bond at that moment with the kid emotionally, even if he intellectually maybe is starting to wonder.
I don't